broadcasting to you from our North Catholic Studios in Cranberry Township for our second episode this year on North Catholic Athletics. My name is Alex Brown.
And I'm Ryan Berry.
And we are your hosts for this podcast.
So, Alex, we're going to get started off with football. We got a lot of sports to discuss today and a couple interviews that are going to come later in the podcast.
Our senior spotlights of the month. Kyle Tipinski and Jayden Sharpless. We'll hear from them in a moment. But first, Ryan, as you said, let's talk about the football team. Since we last talked, Ryan, they've won 2 games. They beat East Allegheny in the homecoming game, and then they went and they beat Burrell.
Yeah, they beat Burrell 56-0 in pure domination all time. It's been the theme all year, domination. They've only let up 14 points in conference play, Alex. But the most they let up in the game is 17 points, and that was East Allegheny, which is a 4A foe.
Opponent,
So they're playing great this year, offensively and defensively. They've struggled with getting off to good starts, and it was good to see that change in the last game with scoring 14 points in the first quarter.
It really was. The run game, they had 8 touchdowns against Burrell. They won 56-0 against Burrell. They crushed them. And 6 of those touchdowns, Ryan, were on the run game. And that's something different than what we've been seeing in the past from them, because the offensive line has had some troubles and some injuries here and there. But that what a statement by the offensive line.
I mean, it got started off right away with the Jack Fennell 30-yard run, and then Joey Prentice followed up with a 44-yard run. I mean, just explosive runs, not just like getting it down to the 10 and running it from there. They're getting explosive plays, and I mean, it's good to see the offense playing so well and dynamic right now.
As you mentioned earlier, Ryan, the defense. They had an 81-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown by Robbie Kress in that game. So the defense scoring some points.
Yeah, defense. Yeah, the defense. I mean, they've been explosive all year.
They really have been.
They've had special teams and defense. Sometimes those are combined in the same thing, because technically you still don't have the ball yet. But I mean, you're making plays to get the ball back, like block field goals, block punts, interceptions. They've gotten some, and they've stood up really good when their backs are against the wall. They've had some forced fumbles and some big interceptions in games, and the defense has just been dominant all year.
And the defense has really stepped up in games when the offense has been bad. Or struggling, at least. You look at the East Allegheny game, Ryan. The offense was really struggling for that first 3 quarters of that game, and the defense was able to really turn the tide in that game and led the Trojans to the victory in that game. And when the score indicated it wasn't that close,
What
it
was the final score?
The score for that game. Let me look that up real quick.
Well, in the second quarter, as you mentioned, they had
31-14.
31-14.
31-14.
Yep. It was a tough game to start. I think they were down 14-10 at halftime,
yes.
Which is obviously what you don't want. They're better than East Allegheny, and
absolutely
they proved that in the second half. But then later, we expected them kind of a little slow, because Joey Prentice was coming off injury, so we saw him struggle a little bit at the beginning, but then he got into a roll and started playing really good. They made some big plays and put points up on the scoreboard, but. Slow starts aren't going to be good once you get to the playoffs, when you play teams like Elizabeth Forward, Avonworth,
absolutely
and
not. Yeah.
Central Valley.
Absolutely, and that's something that they have to continue to emphasize in each of their games. It doesn't matter who the opponent is, because Ryan, we know the rest of the year they play. As of this point, we're filming this right now, not filming it, but recording this on Thursday, right before their game against South Park. And South Park, they should easily beat South Park too. And
South Park is 2-3 on the year.
Yeah, but they've had their best competition that they're going to face in the regular season. And we talked to Coach about that at the regular season. But how do you think that you'd be able to juggle, like, not playing the best competition and then going into the playoffs and playing those tough teams?
Well, I think it's when you play the back competition, you got to make sure you don't make mistakes. Focus on the specifics.
Yeah.
And one of those specifics is extra point kicking. Made all 8 last week, so that's good. And now you look at other things. You look at tackling, giving up big plays. North Catholic hasn't given up big plays this year, so you can check that off the list. Tackling has been bad at times. Other times it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the specifics is definitely something you want to work on. You want to work on getting to quick starts and just putting points up on the scoreboard. Get some depth guys some time. And if the offensive line or defensive line isn't clicking, put them in the game. Try to get them to gel. Try different combinations, because when you're playing bad teams like this, then that's the place to do it. It's not the place to do it in the playoffs. So try new strategies that or new plays that you maybe want to run against better teams, and just test them out in these games.
Speaking of that, the specifics, you got to get the punting has been better too recently.
It has
as
gone
well.
A lot better.
It's been a lot better, and the kickoffs at the beginning of the games a lot better.
Yes, it has. And I mean, I mentioned it earlier in the year, which is this thing they need to prove on. Special teams, at least punting the ball. They are great defensive special teams. I don't know if you can technically call it that. Returning. But
Yeah.
the punts weren't great at the beginning, but then Daniel Long has really gone a lot better as the years went on. I mean, he's been he does the punts and he does the kickoffs,
Yes.
so he's gone a lot better with both of those. And it's really helped, I guess, the defense when you're putting teams back in bad yardages, bad starting spots. It's always good when you can get that, pin them back. I mean, it helps the defense out so much better.
But this Trojans team is due for a couple of punt return for touchdowns. We haven't had one of those in a while from either Liam Straub or Jack Fennell, and they're due for one of those.
Yeah, they are. I mean, earlier in the year, you thought they were going to go in every single game. I mean, they had 2 in the first game.
It's tough, though. It is tough.
It is tough. I mean, that's why you don't see NFL teams or college teams getting it. It's very rare that you see that in college. I mean, throughout a team plays a season, you'll be lucky if you see 3. They play over 12 games. So it's always special when you see those return touchdowns.
On defense, I think a key is for them, as you mentioned tackling earlier,
Yep.
very well, very astutely, tackling. And with the tackling, I think astutely, yes. You see, that's a good word usage there. I have to talk to our English teachers about that. But you have to keep the tackles on defense within the arm's length of your defensive linemen, because the defensive linemen for North have been so good, and if you let them get behind the defensive linemen, then they're going to be gone for a little bit, because you have to get those initial contact on those running backs in particular, and that's something they did very well against Burrell. Daniel Long had 6 tackles in that game. He was phenomenal, and then got a couple sacks in there too from Tyler Primrose, got a sack. Very impressive performance by the defensive line.
I mean, this has been great all year. I don't know how much you can judge off this Burrow game, but you can judge a lot after the East Allegheny and the Blackhawk game. Those are 2 really good offensive teams, and North held them to very few yardages. I mean, they gave up some points in the first half, and they made some big plays on defense. And, I mean, East Allegheny and Blackhawk are lucky that score wasn't a lot worse, because the defense, I mean, played amazing that game. They held both those teams under 20 points and gave the offense the chance to win the game, and that's what they did.
The Trojans, as we said, they play South Park this weekend as of right now, and that'll be an interesting test. South Park is better than Burrell, as you said, 2-3. You just got to work on the specifics and just get those things ironed out that you want to get ironed out before you go into the playoffs. As you said, Ryan, that's exactly what they have to do, and that's what they have to focus on in the remainder of their games this season, as they have, I believe, 4 left this season. But now, Ryan, let's talk about the soccer teams.
Yeah, the boys soccer team, we'll start with them. They're 6-2 in the conference. They're 3rd in their section 4 of the 2A division of Class 2A. They're behind 2 really good teams, probably the 2 favorites, Quaker Valley and Ambridge. That's been lights out this year. North Catholic, to their credit, been playing very good too. Over a record of 6-4, but they played Pun Richland in those non-conference games, which is always tough. But their 2 conference losses is to Quaker Valley and Ambridge. The Ambridge one came in overtime. The Quaker Valley one was a 3-0 game, but 2 of those goals were penalty kicks. Or were they all 2 of them, right? I don't remember if it was 2 of them or all 3 of them were penalty kicks.
I think it was 2 of them.
2 of them, yeah. I mean, and that shows that they're playing these teams tight. The best teams in the division, they're playing them tight, so they can compete with the top teams. They just have to make sure they execute.
And that was the game, Ryan, when one of their, arguably their best player, at least one of their top best players, Ryan Shantz, was out of the game for that game, and he's been phenomenal this season for the Trojans.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
Definitely. And their last game against Hopewell, he had both assists on the goals by Dylan Greggs. And
Dylan Greggs has been phenomenal this year.
He has been great.
I'm not sure who scored the other goal, but it was but they've been playing pretty good. But they have to iron out some of the specifics as well, Ryan. You got to be able to keep. The defense needs to be better. The defense needs to be ironed out a little bit, tighten the screws a little bit, because they gave up a lot of odd man breaks coming back the other way, as we've seen on some of the games we've attended, and that's been a thorn in their side. You look at the Ambridge game where they lost 2-1 on defense. That they gave up a couple of defensive lapses at the end of that game, and that resulted in a loss for them at home in a game where they scored 3 minutes in, and it all came back to get them. But they play at Freedom on tonight, which is Thursday the 7th, and that's a big game as well, Ryan.
Yep, and you talk about big games. The biggest game of them all coming down the stretch. It's Quaker Valley. It's the last game they have or conference-wise on the schedule. I mean, what a big game. It's at home.
Huge.
It's at North Catholic. That's just a huge game, Alex.
Oh, it really is. It is huge, as Quaker Valley is the team to beat, and they have been. up there in the top 2 for the last couple years.
Yeah, because they haven't lost many guys. I mean, they
No.
started like 3 years ago with their sophomores are unbelievable, and they've carried them up throughout high school.
And that's something that each team has to really work on. That goes for any sport, really, as we've seen. You got to have that depth, keep on building and building and building. I want to, in particular, you got to reference the volleyball team here at North, because they've been kept on building and building that depth. And their junior class here for the girls volleyball team is phenomenal. You got Sydney Jones, who's already committed to play D1 volleyball. You got Allison Fezco, who's playing unbelievable. And you got Stephanie Lynch, who's been phenomenal there too.
Alex Sepsik's been playing.
Yes, Aislinn Doherty too. Just a phenomenal junior and sophomore class. For that's what it takes, and especially in the soccer team, you got a great junior and sophomore class. So once you get that depth keeps on building and building, then you're going to be in a good position to win some games and be a perennial success, Ryan.
Yep, definitely. Now let's move on to girls soccer.
Yes. Girls soccer this year, Ryan, has been phenomenal as well. Phenomenal. They're starting right where they left off last year. As they're going to be a threat in the WPIAL. They're going to win the WPIAL, I would assume.
They're in a tough section in the WPIAL. And they're 6-1 overall. With another 6-1 team is Avonworth, who they lost to last time they played them in a
tough
tight
atmosphere.
game.
That was a tough atmosphere.
Avonworth is a good team. There's a lot of good teams. Mars is I was looking at the wrong standings.
No problem.
Mars is 3A, North is 2A, but Shady Side, they're 6-0-1. So a tough team there. There's a lot of good teams in 2A. Mount Pleasant 7-0, but in their section, they should be the favorites. Them and Avonworth are the top seeds in this section. Amber down there at the bottom at 0-7. 1-6 Hopewell, 4-4 Quaker, and then 5-3 Beaver. So it's North and Avonworth up there on the top, Alex.
It is, but North has played a couple more games. No, it'd be
Same amount of
games. Same amount of conference games, and same amount of games overall, I should say, also. But they've won 2 more of their non-conference games than Avonworth has, and that's something to think about there too, because North has been phenomenal non-conference as well, and they've beaten the teams they've had to beat, and they've shut out a lot of games. Ryan, Riley Coomer has been phenomenal.
They've only let up goals in 3 games this year. Only 2 conference games let up goals. But they're finishing this
Great
year
defense,
against Hopewell, Quaker Valley. Those are the 2 conference games left, and those are games they should both win.
Huge games. And you're right. They absolutely should win those games. They beat Quaker Valley is going to be a tougher one, though. They did beat Quaker Valley 1-0 last game when they played them. And Hopewell, they beat up Hopewell 10-0. So, I mean, take that with what you will. But they should be in a good position the rest of the way. And their defense, as Ryan has said, with all those shutouts, they've been phenomenal. Really have been good. And speaking of girls soccer, we spoke to Jayden Sharpless on our Senior Spotlight of the Month. And here was our conversation with her as we talked to her about her senior year and her time here at North.
We're here with one of our senior spotlights for the month, Jayden Sharpless from North Catholic girls soccer team. Jayden, thank you for taking time to talk to us.
You're welcome.
Jayden, now that your final year at North here is upon you, what can you look back on and appreciate the most about your time here at North?
I can appreciate a lot of things. One being like the whole family at North Catholic, like we're just one big family, and appreciate everything that I like have. And also just athletics, like the team, we're all just like close and like feel connected. So yeah.
What have been some of your favorite memories over your time at North?
Some memories are like bus rides with the team and like pregame like hype ups and winning WPIALs both years and making it to states last year.
How have you been able to grow as a leader over your career?
I've really looked up to my older sister. She plays soccer too, and she's been a super big leader like in our family and just like on her own team. So like I've learned a lot from her, and also seniors last year that were captains. They were amazing leaders as well.
With having such a successful season last year, how do you hope to build on that coming into this year?
We got a new coach, which is super exciting. She's super positive towards everything, and she's helped us like gain confidence on the field and stuff. And also like our team is just super close, and those connections like help us play better on the field. And we're hoping to make it back to WPIALs and states.
What goals do you have for your senior season?
I'm hoping to win WPIALs and win states. Those are just like big accomplishments that would finish out the senior season.
What are your plans for after you graduate North Catholic?
I plan on going to Georgia State to play soccer.
Well, that's fantastic. And as the lights go out in your career here at North, the lights go out behind us. And thank you very much for joining us today.
You're
Jayden.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
And you just heard from Jayden Sharpless, one of North's Senior Athletes of the Month. Now let's hear from Kyle Tipinski, our other senior athlete, a football player and a basketball player.
And track, too. We're here with one of the North Catholic Trojans Senior Spotlights for the Month, football player Kyle Tipinski. Kyle, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, sir.
Kyle, how has being at North for so long helped you change as a player and as a person?
It changed me into a good person both ways. Coaches and my teammates, pushed me into being a better person and just making my work ethic, better and better each day.
What has been some of your favorite memories at North, from either as being a player on the football team or just anything in school?
I would say probably playing on Friday nights with my teammates, just, being in a locker room with them, having good times, and then just getting a W and just celebrating after the win.
Kyle, being at North for so long, what have you noticed about the bonding culture of the school?
Being at North, it showed that we're a big family. I'm really comfortable with all my friends and teachers, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Kyle, you have Division I football offers from both Bowling Green and Toledo. How have your coaches and teammates been able to push you to get to that amazing goal?
My coaches and teammates, they pushed me very hard because they know that I'm capable of doing great things in life. They saw my work ethic and saw that I'm capable of doing great things. So I just took that advantage and decided to do it.
So you're being a senior at North Catholic this year. Have you become a leader over the years? Have you always been a leader, or is this like a new thing that you've become a leader this year?
I've always been a leader, but also there's people that I looked up to, and I learned stuff from them as well. I do it now, but being a leader it plays a big part.
Lastly, what are your goals for your senior season?
To go to states, to win a championship, and win whip wheels.
It's as simple as that. Kyle Tipinski, one of our senior spotlights for the month. Kyle, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And that was Kyle Tipinski, and those are both our senior spotlights of the month. And we really appreciate them for giving us the time and their contributions to the athletics department here at North. We really appreciate it.
Now let's look at the girls' tennis team, Alex.
Yes.
They've been playing really good lately. A 5-0 win on September 23rd against Riverview, and they also had a win, another win, Alex.
Yeah, they've been really firing all cylinders, Ryan. And they've been that team is helmed phenomenally by their coaches, and they really have a passionate group of players, and they beat Indiana
4-1. Yep.
4-1, and that was a big win because that win captured a spot in the Whippeal team playoffs. And if they lost that game, they would not have had that spot because it was between them and Indiana for that 3 seed, and they got it.
Yeah,
so that's phenomenal.
It was a dominating win in that game too.
It really
Alex.
was 4-1. Yeah, phenomenal. And let's talk about the cross country team, right? We haven't talked a lot about them, but now here we have something for them. On October the 2nd, the North Catholic cross country team ran at the John Sample Grove City Invitational Run, and the boys team got 3rd and the girls team got 6th.
Yep, senior Riley Orr and Anna Spielvieri, they both received medals in the JV race, 10th place for Riley and 15th place for Anna. And in the varsity girls race, Grace got 5th, Grace Lazera, and Elena Hicks was 10th. And they both received medals as well.
In the varsity boys race, Giacomo Lepore was 9th, Sam West was 13th, Alex Yerling ran as an independent but was 20th. Joe Harmonis was 21st, and they all received medals as well. And their next section meet is against Quaker Valley and Avonworth. But that's a phenomenal meet there for the both the boys and girls cross country.
Yep,
teams.
and at those matches against Quaker Valley and Avonworth, the boys won both races. The girls had their first losses of the season against both teams, but 2 of the top 5 girls won racing that day. Giacomo won for the boys, Elena won for the girls.
It was a strong showing. It really was.
Yep, they've been running good, Alex.
It really has been. And those are tough courses, too. I mean, like, it depends on the weather, humidity. It's been hot lately, too. To start running cross country is normally a lot colder weather. But, I mean, you get what you get. And let's briefly talk about hockey, Ryan. The hockey season started officially the other day, and the North Catholic boys beat up North Hills. Not beat up, but they convincing win, 3-1. After they got down early in the game, just over 3 minutes into the game, North Hills got the 1-0 lead, and then North Catholic scored the next 3 unanswered. Tatum Ellis with a hat trick in that game. And you played in that game. Give us a little taste of what your guys were feeling, trying to come back in that one.
Yeah, we started off a little slow. We went down in shots 7-2 early. They got their first goal, and then we outshot them by a lot. The rest of the game, Alex.
You really did. Was it the mission to get pucks on net after a certain point, just to get as much as you could on net, tighten up the defense?
Definitely to get pucks on net. We weren't getting a lot of quality shots.
Yeah.
As I mentioned. Then we started getting a lot. Of course, Tay had those 2 top shelf goals that really changed the momentum of the game, and we were very structured well defensively.
I might add, you played very well as well, Ryan, and so did your brother Connor.
Thank you.
Yes.
What were your main takeaways from that game, though, Alex?
My main takeaways, and was that how you want me to say too? That you did a good job, you and your brother did a good job. Did I say that the right way? You wrote it down for me.
Funny.
Yeah. But my takeaways from the game is that you guys have a gritty team. It's a gritty team in North and on the hockey team. And you go down early. You have some struggles throughout the game. You face some adversity in the penalty box as well. But you're able to kill those penalties, and you're able to reverse the cycles throughout the game and still get those shots on net, get those quality opportunities, and you had to come back and win that game. Phenomenal. And your next game is next Tuesday against Fox Chapel, and you can catch that one on the North Catholic Sports Network. Also that day, the girls volleyball team has a game as well.
Yes. The hockey game.
And the girls volleyball team has a game that day as well. I won't be at that one, but that'll be broadcasted on a fixed camera feed. But that will be on there as well.
Is that all we got for today's podcast?
That's all we got, Ryan. Phenomenal job. Phenomenal.
Yep. Another good one. Remember, we are your one-stop podcast for everything North Catholic athletics.